So there's only energy, there's only everything being nothing and nothing being everything. It's completely beyond understanding or knowing. And there can be in that the sense that there's a world, there's life, and there's me with my life. There's a sense of separation, the sense of separation to a world that's outside of you and through which you're negotiating and relating. And when you have a life, you feel you have a life, you feel you have to do something with it, and you feel you're in control of it, and you feel like there's other people in the world. There's you and there's other people to whom you have relationships, and there's other things, and basically you're born and you're moving towards your death. And there's this sense of being separate, can be everything and anything. It can be satisfactory in the story, it could be very dissatisfactory, it could be very unhappy, it could be very happy. All of this, it could feel, life could feel very full, life could feel very empty. Everything appears to happen for apparent people, but under all of this there's an invitation, there's a constant invitation to see that there's only what's appearing to happen, and there is no separate you, and there never has been. And this yearning the person has, the individual has, is manifested in countless different ways, from making lots of money, getting power, being somebody, being spiritually enlightened, so on. And all of these endeavors are really to get something, because there's a sense that if I get something I will be somehow complete. Maybe it's an experience that I can integrate into my life and make permanent. Maybe it's a state that I can make permanent. Maybe it's material and I can have all material comfort. Whatever it is, it's this sense of filling a void. And usually the person wouldn't conceive it like this or think about it like this, but there's a sense of trying to get something to make yourself whole and complete. And what's being shared here is that actually what's being yearned for always is not about getting anything. It's that there is no body, there is no separate you. So in fact it involves an apparent loss of that sense of being separate, so that there's a world and there's you. It's not about getting anything, it's not about knowing anything. And what's yearned for is beyond knowing, beyond understanding, and amazingly, stunningly, is already whatever appears to be. It's incredible that what's yearned for appears to hide by already being whatever appears to be happening. It's absolutely stunning. So that's what's been shared from nothing. And if there's a question or something arises, you can put your hand up. This is really an energetic communication. It's not to do with any kind of knowing or understanding. If you feel you're going to get something here, then it's not being heard. There's nothing on offer here, and there's nobody being spoken to, because there's just energy. There is no separate individual already, so nothing's going to happen. You're not going to fall away, because you're not there to fall away.
Kenneth, may I ask a question?
Hi, Jordan. Yeah, shoot. Yeah.
Hey, hello. Why is it required that we should quieten our minds or be still?
Say that again, Jordan. Sorry. What
Sorry,
about being still?
why is it required or asked for us to be still or quieten our minds
Oh, in other places, you mean? Not here, like.
in other places?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Essentially, if just to be really kind of simplistic about it, there's two communications you could say, right? One speaks to somebody and says essentially, I can see that you feel unworthy and are yearning for wholeness. Let's call it wholeness or oneness. I can show you the way to oneness, and that's very seductive to the person. Um, and what they'll do is they'll say, the way to wholeness is to be still in your mind, um, to be mindfully aware of what's happening, and this will bring you closer and closer to a state of oneness or whatever. And these are just teachings for the individual. The individual loves this stuff because the individual loves being spoken to and being fed, and that's what they're looking for all the time. So all of these teachings, which is mostly what we hear in mostly it's 99.9% some sort of teaching or instruction. They'll have any amount of different methods for you to find something, be it meditation, mindful awareness, whatever, chanting. There's just so many different things. And then there's another communication which is much less common, which is this communication, which is nobody's. It belongs to nobody. It is nothing to do with any character. It comes from nothing. And instead of seeing somebody who can achieve oneness or go to oneness, it doesn't see anybody, because there is only already energy, which is nothing being everything. So there is already no separation. There is no separate person. And that's what's shared. That's what this is a sharing, a description, not a prescription. There's nothing prescriptive in this. So anything that tells you to still your mind is just utter nonsense. Because who would do that? Who is it that could still their mind? Who is it that has a mind to still? The person loves all of that, though, and there's nothing right or wrong with any of that. Some of that is very it's very appealing to some people, and that's what's happening. That's what's appearing to happen. They want to try and still their mind, and that's what's appearing to happen. And they may or may not have a sense that doing that will get them somewhere. This is saying that there is nowhere to get to, and there's no you to get there. There's simply just what's appearing to happen, and it is that you don't have a mind. There is mind, there is speaking, there is sounds, there is sensations, there is whatever appears to happen, and there is no you in there, and there never has been. It's very simple, very ordinary, very obvious. That's the genius of it, really. That's how it appears to hide.
But perhaps, I'm just trying to, if it is heard that mind should be still, and the mind does become still, this understanding can happen.
No, that would be a state. So if someone feels that they've stilled their mind, they're in some sort of a state that they feel that they have a still mind. Then none of that would be. There's nothing that can. There's no kind of state that can bring about an opening to this. There's nothing that the person can appear to do to bring about an opening to this, because it's already the case that there is already boundless, unconditional love. That's all there is nothing being everything already. So if you feel that you can do something to bring about an openness to this, all that's happening is a reinforcing of the sense that you are a separate individual who can do something.
Yeah, there's guilt that I can't do it, really, rather.
It's not that you can't do it, it's that you're not there to do it or not do it. There's just already energy, there's just already boundlessness, nothing being everything. That's all there ever has been. And any sense of being a separate person in it is artificial. Any sense that I need to still my mind is just a rejection of what appears to be in favor of what might be something other than this. So this isn't quite it. So if I have a stiller mind, then I'll be there.
It's a rejection of this by whom then?
The person, the apparent individual, is a hopeful energy of something better to come always. So this isn't what appears to be. Isn't it? It's not. It can't just be this for the person. Like the person isn't being spoken to here, actually. But the person, the individual hearing this is nonsense, because it can't just be this. It can't just. There's a really felt feeling that it's not just this. This is boring. This is kind of, it's just like I'm just sitting down and talking or whatever it is. And there's a real sense of there being something other than this, and that's the continual striving of the person. It's a closed loop of always moving towards something else, and whatever that is, it's different for every apparent individual. As I said in the opening, for some it's having more money, for some it's having more power, for some it's having spiritual enlightenment. And the absolutely hilarious divine comedy is that what is actually looked for is already just what appears to be happening. That's why what's been yearned for has never left you. It's totally inescapable, because it's simply just aliveness. And when it's seen, there's usually a lot of laughter. There's often a lot of laughter, because it's just hilarious that you were apparently going around and around looking, and what you were looking for is just already what was appearing to be. It doesn't any kind of sense that this is nothing to do with any kind of state or experience or anything like that.
How come there's so many schools and religions?
It's just in the story. It's just in the story that speaks to a person. There's an infinite amount of different stories within the story of you, or that are come down to the story of you, the story that you are a separate person. And the question that comes is, why am I separate? Why have I lost wholeness? And then the answer then is any amount of answers. Oh, you've lost wholeness because of this and that, and I can bring you to wholeness. And then that's the one that the person wants. He wants that kind of narrative, and because it feels very safe in that there's a kingdom of heaven, and if I'm really good, I'll get there. Because that just feeds the sense of being separate, that I am a person, and that I am unworthy, and that maybe one day I'll get there. So they all boil down to the same thing, that they're all speaking to somebody who can do something to get somewhere. And then you have an uncompromising, clear message that is usually very confronting to the person. Usually very the person doesn't want what's being shared here at all, and the person isn't being offered anything or even spoken to, because there is no person. And actually what it is that this can resonate. This can just resonate what's being shared, and it's very obvious. There's just rain, sensations in the body, sitting, whatever appears to be. That's all there is. But then there can be a sense that there's me seeing the rain, me hearing the rain, me sitting on the seat, me having a thought, me having a sensation in my hand, so on, so on, so on. This sense that there's a person in there that's experiencing everything. It's a really lived reality for the person.
So what resists it? Exactly.
What? Sorry again?
What resists it? Or what is resisting it?
What is resisting what's being yearned for? Yeah, so it's the person is just being a person. So the person is just a closed loop of energy, just being an individual. So the person just is individualizing, if that's even a word, and so has no interest in what's being shared here. And it's not the person that's being spoken to. Person can't even hear what's being said here. Really, they'll just turn it into something. So the paradox is that what's being yearned for actually is your not being there, is your own absence, and that's what's feared most, is your own absence. Because the person obviously doesn't want to not be a person. So there's the resistance, the energetic sense of being a person. Now it's when I say all of this, it's always apparent. Like there is no actual separate person. There never has been. But it's the appearance of it, the energetic sense. It's a lived reality for the person. And then when it's no longer there, it's seen that it was never real and it never even started. It was an appearance. Would you say that free? Oh, hiya.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Go. You can go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Ladies first.
Okay. My question is: you say this message can't be heard
by the individual,
because all the other messages that I used to hear, because my husband and I started listening to you a few weeks ago. All the other messages that we used to hear for about a year or so, they're so distorted, we just cannot listen to them anymore. So there's something here that is being heard.
Yeah, but it's not the individual that's hearing it then. What you are is nothing being everything, which is resonating with what's being shared here. Not you as a separate person. Because the artificial individual can't hear what's being said here, because it can only turn it into something that they can use, or it's not resonating with you is another way of putting it, because there is no you and there never has been.
So there's no difference to what I'm hearing to what you're actually saying.
There's no difference to what you're hearing from what you're hearing to what I'm saying. I don't really understand.
So there's not a misunderstanding there's no misunderstanding. It's just not clicking, or I don't know. Yeah, there's just something, because I'm like, I feel like I really do. Obviously, I feel like I really listen to every word that you say. Yeah.
So it's that I wouldn't get bogged down in it. Like there's a sharing, right? And it's resonating there. That's the way I would put it. So what's being shared is resonating in a way that's not even describable. You can't describe really how it's resonating, but it's just resonating. What I'm saying is that has nothing to do with you, or the when I say you, is you as a separate individual, because you as a separate individual is just a story. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then what's actually the way it is that it's shared from nothing, and it just resonates as it resonates. It's heard as it's heard, and there's no agenda whatsoever. So for some it resonates very clearly and very it just totally resonates, just very obvious. And as you said, it contrasts very much with other communications which speak to somebody, which you can, and when this starts to be heard, usually the other one you can't even listen to it. Like you said, it just sounds even people, for Kenneth, what happened was I was listening to all these people, and then I heard the open secret, and then I suddenly energetically could not listen to them anymore, the other people. And for a little period of time I couldn't even understand why. I didn't understand why, because I thought they were actually saying more or less the same thing. Just for a few weeks or so I thought but I just was completely drawn to and resonating with the open secret, but then the other ones just did absolutely nothing for me at all. I couldn't listen to them.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah,
I actually feel like a little nauseous by some of the I just feel repulsed. I'm like, why are you saying that? It just doesn't feel right. And I realized it never did. I will just shuffle through all of these, gurus so quickly, because it just, I just absorbed all the content. I was like, oh, it's not right. And once again, it's just not right. And I was somebody else. It's just like, this is not it. Like, I don't know, there was something that always felt like, no, that's not, I guess, the truth. But yeah, since discovering you, we've just been like obsessed.
Yeah, it's completely indescribable. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning, and it's nobody's communication. It's nothing to do with Kenneth. It's nothing to do with any character. Anywhere it's coming out in a very clear, uncompromising way. It has nothing to do at all with it comes completely from unknowing, and from that unknowing, there's a boundlessness to it. It's just indescribable, as opposed to somebody who's speaking to you and addressing you and telling you what to do to get somewhere. I mean, that's energetically, that's just bleh. There's no comparison at all. It's just, they're oil and water. They don't actually mix at all. And I can totally understand how people sometimes can't see that, because they're focused on the words, and some of the communications are very kind of non-duality terms and words, and they seem to be very, very, very similar to what's shared here, and people can't understand sometimes, but they say, well, that's the same as whoever, and it's not the same at all, because one is speaking to somebody and the other is not speaking to anybody. It's just a sharing.
Yeah, it's like hitting a wall constantly with you. So I'm just, there's nowhere to go. But it is so, it's like hitting a wall. It's frustrating. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, I just don't understand, because I can't understand. But there is something that just feels so relaxing. There's something, I don't know.
I completely know what you mean, and you can't describe it, and I can't describe it, and nobody can describe it. But it's absolutely stunning. It's just completely beyond any idea we have of liberation or any concept, and it's total free fall. It's amazing.
Can I ask just on that, with the other teachers who are, have language that kind of sounds non-dual, and maybe trying to point to, the sense that there's not two. Are these individuals, is there still a person there, or are they just trying to express from nothingness in a more distorted way, what they are experiencing in the same boundless kind of energetic sense that you're expressing it? Is it just more distorted, or is there still a person?
Yeah, so just to pick up on the first comment, the first sentence, though, there is no other. I'm not a teacher, so it's when you say other teachers, this isn't a teaching at all. This is just a sharing. So the distinction would be that some of them would consider themselves teachers, and that they would teach somebody. So they're speaking to somebody, and there's something to get. There's somewhere to get. But even the ones who say they're not a teacher, some of them still clearly have something to offer, and they still clearly speak to someone. Essentially, it is that there's still a sense, an energetic sense of feeling like a person, even though they maybe report that they don't and they are addressing somebody, they're speaking to somebody. That's really what it is.
Sorry.
That's really what it is that one is speaking to someone and telling them how they can get to oneness, and the other is saying there is no you to get to oneness. There's already just what's appearing to happen. This is already oneness or wholeness or whatever words you want to use.
But how does someone feel like they have the authority to teach in that way if their direct experience isn't of nothingness being everything?
Oh no, they are totally sincere, most of them, and it's because they've had some sort of experience and they're in some sort of state. So usually there's been some sort of awakening, and it's been seen that the reality they lived in wasn't actually real, and then they feel then that other people, that they did something, and that other people could do the same thing to see what they saw. So most of them are sincere, I would say. A lot of them are quite sincere. And then and what happens then is the energy of being the person, when they hear that communication, that they are drawn to that, and they energetically for their individualism or individuality, it's fed in some way by what's been said, and they feel comforted or whatever. There's nothing wrong or right with it.
It's confusing because we've both been seekers, and I don't think I've realized how much of a seeker I was until you actually start describing at the start of this talk. You seek it in money, you seek it in achievement, and you seek it in spirituality because that's more lofty and even harder to kind of get your hands around. So you start to see the seeking energy for what it has been throughout your entire experience.
Yeah.
And you kind of start coming up against the wall, and everything starts falling away pretty rapidly. And it's hopeless. The hopelessness of this message sinks in, and you don't know why you keep coming back to it because it offers you nothing. And I don't know what's going on. That's what it feels like.
It's beautifully hopeless. I mean, of course, it's hopeless because the person is a hopeful energy of something better. That's the whole energy of being a person. There's something better around the corner. It's around the next corner. So if it's totally hopeless because there is nothing better than nothing being everything. What would there be to hope for? And it's not you that's coming back, or it's not you that's listening to it. It's just there's just a resonance. There is no you at all. And it is totally unknowable. It is actually what's appearing to happen is nothing being everything being nothing is completely so immediately just what appears to be. It's totally unknowable. It's only the person that lives in a closed loop of knowing, from that sense that there's life and then there's them. So it's in that sense of being separate to everything, they abstract a sense of knowing what's happening, and that's a dissatisfactory way to be. There's something very dissatisfying in it, and that's the yearning then.
And then just one more thing in terms of this communication, and I listened to Tony Parsons and Jim Newman and Ariana as well, and the language is very similar. And Tony said this message has only been around for the last 20-25 years in his opinion in the history of communicating. Why would this communication only have been such a recent way to communicate or to share?
I don't know really. I don't know. I can't really comment on that. I haven't really seen anything else that is so clear and uncompromising. There always tends to be in somehow speaking to somebody. So it seems to be. That's also a story, but he'd also say that too, that's a story, because there is no time and there is no. But it's just in the appearance. That's the way it appears to be. That in the story, that individualism kind of grows, you could say, and then it seems to be at the same time proportionally there's a more of an opening to that there is no individual, that there's just what's appearing to happen. And you see it in the way authority is being questioned all over the place, and that sense of just accepting authority is beginning to kind of crumble, and there's generally energetically, it seems now that there's more of an opening to there just being this.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, guys. Would you say the freedom is in the seeing that nothing could be in any way different from than as it is? For instance, when there's intense upset about the illness of a loved one, just seeing that it could not be any other way. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like this is full on aliveness. This is everything is it, everything. There's nothing that isn't it. So it is absolute joy and it is absolute heartbreak, complete, total and utter heartbreak. There's nothing that isn't it. It's just it's energy, and it is very much that it's the scene that if it is heartbreaking, that's the way it is. That's just the way it is. It can't be any other way. Or the only way it could be different is just a story. It's just an idea. U.G. Krishnamurti, yeah, I've heard that a few times, and some things I've heard by him seemed quite good as well. But yeah, I don't really know enough about him to kind of try and point out where maybe it was anything other than clear. Hi, Laura.
Hiya. Nice shirt.
Thanks.
So when you were just saying that this, let's say, questioning of authorities is happening, so this is like so much resonating, because I feel this belief in authority is so making this alive energy a bit like stiff in in human beings. So, and it's like this. Oh, it just feels like it wants to just bubble up and just boom, be here, or whatever wants to it just wants to boom out, whatever comes up. And this belief in authority is somehow, I feel, it's
constricted and contracted, yes. And it's an aspect of apparent separation.
Yes.
That's what it is, because there's a sense that I'm a little old me and there's a world out there, so there must be a higher something. Yes. So we look to that in a higher authority and a higher a higher God and a higher everything. You know, everything is, there must be, there has to be. It's completely makes sense, because
Yes.
if there's me and I'm just little old me, like there has to be something greater than me.
Yeah.
And the big joke is there is no little old me.
Yes.
There never has been.
Yes.
There's just energy. And that's that boundless freedom that's been pointed towards, the inexpressible, unknowable, boundless freedom, is just already the case. It's amazing.
Yes, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, champagne bottle.
Yeah, there you go. That was your cue to just pop the bottle there, Laura.
Yes, yes, and listening to this message this resonance. It feels like being I don't know the English word, tickling, like when somebody is tickling you and you need
tickling,
to go.
yeah.
Yes, it feels like a tickling from inside in the body. It feels like energetically being tickled from inside.
Yeah,
that's an amazing. That's it's great fun actually. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is maybe a too personal question, but has your day-to-day life in any way changed? You are married, you have kids, you had a job. Did it still continue to happen?
Yeah, I still have a job apparently. I don't have anything, and there's no day-to-day life, you know. There's just what appears to happen, and it's not any way different than anyone else, except that for apparent other people, they think that they have a life and they have a job and they have a wife and they have kids, whereas there's just a job happening, husbanding, fathering, whatever. It's the exact same. It's so remarkably ordinary what's being shared here, and obvious. It's too obvious. That's the problem. It's continually overlooked. So when this is shared, invariably people it's heard as though Kenneth has something that they don't, and that's just impossible to, no matter how much I say I don't have anything you don't have, or it's anyway, it's heard as it's heard. So it's just the character is just the character. It's just everyone has a different kind of flavor, if you want to put it that way, and the character is just that there, and there's just what's appearing to happen. Whereas when there's a sense of there being a person, it's not just the character. There's the persona. There's the energetic sense of feeling like I am a person who has a life and has control over that life and is moving in time and space and is relating to other people. And there's all this kind of this big layer of that, of energetically of that, over what appears to be happening. When that appears to fall away, then it's just seen that it was never real, it was never there, and it was always just working or playing or whatever appeared to be. That you were never there actually in any of it. It's amazing that you were what's yearned for has never been. It's inescapable. It's always just the case. It's that energetic sense that you're there, that you are a person, that makes it feel as though there's something missing.
Yes, and what's sensed here is that so that this let's say the already immediacy, for example, of whatever pain or pleasure happening is like not filtered anymore in any way. It's like full on. It's full on.
Oh yeah, it's much more full on when there's
when
there's no longer
yes, it's much more full on. It's like yes,
because it's the me that filters. So when there's pain and it's my pain, it's like a filter through which the pain is coming, and it kind of dampens it down, or and it's when there's no longer a sense of being a person, there's actually pain is more painful.
Yes. Because
everything is full on aliveness then. You know, a nice way of looking at it would be this whole way that the person pulls in pleasure and pushes away discomfort through, say, medication now, or whatever they're doing. So then they take medication to not feel the discomfort, and then they're kind of puzzled as to why they can't feel the pleasure.
Yeah.
You know, after a while they feel numb. So you have a whole kind of cohort of people that feel absolutely numb in Western society. And it's because they're continually trying to not have any discomfort and have only pleasure. And this is the whole energetic kind of apparent movement of the person, is to push away one and pull in the other. And the more they try to push away one, the more they can't have experienced the other, obviously. And then when there is no body, as there never is anyway, but that sense of being a person is no longer there. Everything is just full on raw aliveness.
Oh yes.
It's stunning. It's not describable in any way or knowable. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Wishing for things to be different is also the way it is and could not be any other way, or amidst intense heartbreak, trying to calm down or reduce anxiety. Yeah, that's just what would be appearing to happen. Yeah, like what's being shared here is not some kind of acceptance. That's not what's being shared. It's like somebody accepting. It can sometimes be heard like that. So what you're saying is that this state of kind of acceptance of whatever is appearing to happen. So there's heartbreak. So I should just accept the heartbreak and not try and calm down or not be anxious or whatever. And that's not what's being shared. This is not a state, any kind of a state, or anybody who's accepting anything, or it's just utter free fall. It's indescribable. It's very ordinary. It's obvious. It's just that there's just energy. There's just what's appearing to happen. So if that was someone calming down, then that's what's appearing to happen. Or someone who anxiety is there and then trying to do exercise to not be anxious, and that's what's appearing to happen. Hi, Kenneth. Is memory affected by loss of interest in the character? I would say here that memory was, in one way, was affected because things aren't really held on to in the same way as when you feel like a person. So something is said. Sometimes I have it in my talk. Someone says, "Can you just say that again?" And I can't say it again. I literally can't. It's just, it was there and it's gone. So it's because that sense of being a person, it's the person who kind of feels that there's something happening, and they feel that there's something happening because they feel that they're there and there's something happening to them, really, in a very kind of linear way in time and space. So it's very sequential, and one thing happens to me and then another thing happens and then this happened, and then that narrative of being a person who has a life is memory is an intrinsic part of that, because I remember when this happened to me, and I remember when he said that, and I remember when they said that and did that. So it all kind of weaves the narrative of who we are. And when that narrative collapses and it's just seen as a story, it's just a story, that's all it is, then yeah, memory can be a bit different in that way. Kenneth, do you feel envies from apparent other people? Envies. I don't feel anything. I'm not sure there's too many people who envy me. I don't feel anything from any other person. There is no other person, and there's only then what someone would state or report, or someone would say, maybe, I envy you. They'd have to say that and then say, well, that's what's happening then. Yeah, there's nothing to envy. This is about a loss, a complete total loss. Nothing has been gained here. What's been yearned for involves an apparent loss of everything, all sorts of concepts, ideas, everything, complete total loss. And then it's just that there's nothing. Everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. Boom. When there's no me, can there be lying, stealing? And it can be whatever. Yeah, I can't say what there would be or there wouldn't be. It's certainly not a state. So if there's no sense of me any longer, it's not that someone is in some sort of state where they only good things happen. I mean, that's pure dualism. There's just the character, and there's just what appears to happen. If someone is grouchy and cantankerous, and then they no longer feel like a person, this cantankerism will just continue, probably. It's everything. It's not yeah. You're making me work today, guys. Firing the questions at me. I have to read them. Like, oh, God. When there is no me, can there be line? Oh, no, I read that one already. Sorry, there was another one under that. Does everything become a lot lucid and sleepy? I'm not really sure what that means. It doesn't really become anything. It's if we go back to what we were saying earlier, that the me is like a filter. You could also say the me is like a veil. And that when this was first seen here, not that it's a thing that can be seen, but when the Kenneth appeared to fall away, the words that were, I was journaling a lot at the time, so I used to do an awful lot of writing, and the first, I would say almost the first sentence that was written was, it actually was, I'm really sure it was the first sentence was, it feels like a veil has been lifted. And the funny thing was, I had very little exposure to spiritual language at the time, so that wouldn't have been a thing that I would have been too familiar with, say the analogies to a veil and so on. But that's very much how it felt. It was, a veil is a nice way of putting it, because if you think about a very very fine veil, and looking through a fine veil, it's, if that veil is lifted, everything is exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Nothing has changed at all, but yet it's somehow different because there's no veil. It's somehow clearer, or it's totally indescribable. But so it is very much that there already is only liberation, and it's always just been this, and that it's that sense of being a me that's like a veil that feels it's absolutely real, and in which then there's a sense of there being life and me with my life, and everything is an object to my subject. So when there's a sense of being a person, I'm looking at the tree, I'm looking at the car, it's my computer, there's this sense of you and other, and that just collapses, and then there's just life carrying, life treeing. It's not describable, but it's very simple. What's been shared here for the last hour is ludicrously ordinary and simple. It's just, that's how it appears to hide. There's already just energy. There's already just nothing being everything. That's all. It's very simple. There's no non-duality. There's no Zoom meeting. It's completely inescapable what's yearned for. It's not that there's an opening to it for an hour on a Wednesday morning and then you go about your job and you go to the shop and buy a litre of milk, and you know that's somehow different. There's only that. There's only ever that. There's only ever unconditional love. Jay, you were saying something.
Yeah. Did you catch any of it, or do you want me to start again?
I didn't really catch any of it. No, I think you're saying the seeking seems to have stopped.
Yeah, that's good. Nice.
Everything stopped.
Well, there's still a really subtle sense of subject object, in the sense that when I experience wonderment, like I experience wonderment, and in the wonderment is some sort of like separate, I don't know, me looking at stuff going, holy shit. Do you experience, like, what's your sense of wonderment, and is there verbalization in that? Or?
Yeah, I find it very hard to describe, but it's not very hard, it's impossible to describe, really. It's not an experience either. There's no experiences here. Experiences are something the person has. There's just whatever's appearing to happen. That's all there is. There's just whatever's appearing to happen. So now there's talking, and there's a computer screen, and there's sitting on a chair, and there's thoughts and ideas. Like there's a wowness to everything. There's a wowness to it. And it's also a nothing. It's completely wow, and it's also nothing at all.
And when you say nothing at all, it's
very ordinary. It's very ordinary. It's very just. It's not special or not special, or it's not I'm trying to differentiate between the wow of, people feel like a wow is, there's, everything is normal and ordinary, and then there's wow, this happens or something. It's not like that.
But sort of it's funny, I watched this Instagram video the other day of a guy watching this last bit of a football match, and the guy kicked a goal right at the last minute, and he had this like wow sensation, and like stood up out of his chair. And I sort of get that now when I look at a tree, or even look at a dishwasher or something. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Yeah, everything is nothing, and nothing is everything, and everything is new. So that sense of special, not special, totally collapses. There's nothing actually happening, and it's just stunning because everything is new and indescribable, and there's not a you that it's happening to anymore. These are all just words. Like, it's not actually possible to describe liberation.
Sorry, can I ask one more thing?
Yeah.
Does your non-experience, perception, does your perception seem to have a sequence, be sequenced, as in, are there transitions between, this is a really weird question, but I was just walking in the park, and I was kind of like, I'm looking at something, this perceptual experience happening here, and then I turn my head, and all of a sudden there's this new experience happening here, and it felt like a sort of series of experiences. Is yours a series or not?
No, it's not a series. No, there's no border on anything. It's not a series of. But what could appear to be happening there is the kind of newness of everything. Just kind of wow. Just kind of, it can be a bit like that. That the newness of everything just hits you, and not that it's hitting you, but so there, everything is new, and then everything is new, and everything is new, and Do you know?
Yeah.
It can be a bit like that, yeah.
It's almost overwhelming, but not overwhelming. It's cool.
Yeah, yeah, totally. That's a nice way of describing it, actually. Yeah, I meant to say also that, like, one nice way of putting it, I always felt, was an in loveness with what appears to be happening. I always loved that expression. I have no idea where I first heard that, or who said that, but I just thought it was a lovely way to say it. It is like an in loveness with just simply aliveness, just whatever appears to be happening. As opposed to that sense of being a person who's relating to everything all the time and trying to extract something for themselves and have an experience that leads to a better experience. And there's this kind of constant agitation with being a person, even though the vast majority are unaware of it totally. There's this agitation to it, that it could be better, and so on. Yeah, well, we can't describe liberation. We can't just it's not describable, but I'll always come back to the fact that it's totally ordinary, and it's completely ordinary and already the case.
I have more questions, but I'm happy to wait.
Yeah, whatever works. Nice to talk to you. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kenneth. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too, Kelly. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I haven't got a question. I just wanted to say hi.
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't got anything to say.
Yeah, I know. There's nothing to say, really.
Nah, I just wanted to say hi because I like talking to you, and but I will say, what I will say is what I am noticing happening at the moment is everything feels like I'm watching a stand-up comedy show.
Okay, yeah.
Like I'm in some Seinfeld episode. It's hilarious. Like,
yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Hilarious. And like I'm driving, watching, I don't know, some YouTube clip today of, I think it was Tony, and I'm watching it, and the people saying stuff, and then he's saying stuff, and it was so hilarious that I almost actually wet myself driving. Like like I don't know how that's happened. It's just so funny. Everything's hilarious.
Yeah, the seriousness falls out of everything because the meaning is gone out of everything, because the meaning was there when you felt there, and everything had meaning and significance and a kind of a heaviness to it. And it can be seen to be quite theatrical. All right, yeah.
Yeah. So,
especially when people take themselves very seriously and feel they're, I'm a me and I'm very important. I'm a very important person. I'm the manager here at this institution. Do you not know who I am? And it can kind of feel like a little bit like almost theatrical. Yeah, it's like, okay, that's nice for you. That's what's happening there then.
I wanted to just quickly tell you also, I think the last time we spoke, I was telling you about, I was a bit confused as to how it's suddenly just this, and then suddenly I'm taking, anyway, I won't go into, I told you, I'm taking drugs and doing this.
Yeah.
And then it's just become obvious that like, just this is, there was this idea of what it would be like being pure and and then whatever's happening is just this, literally
just whatever is appearing to happen. Yeah, it's amazing actually. The idea of what's being suggested here is utter rubbish compared to liberation. Like, people have these lovely ideas, really kind of endearing really, about liberation and what's being suggested, and it's usually about some kind of state that's invariably peaceful and where everyone loves you and you love everybody, and nothing bad ever happens and no uncomfortable things happen because everything is just in this blissful bubble of awareness and consciousness, bliss, blah blah bullshit. And it's amazing. People have these really solidified ideas about, and that's fine, there's nothing wrong or right with that, but what's being shared here is totally and utterly beyond any idea you could ever have, and remarkably immediately so obvious and simple and ordinary. That's the, there's a memory of being so shocked by the complete obviousness of it. It was just, it's so stunning that it's just this, it's just already whatever. And it's never been anything else.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is going to make sense, because I can't actually explain this, but it's like there's an experience happening of less, not like it's like I couldn't understand this less. Like I couldn't, I can't comprehend it. Like the me thought it knew stuff.
Oh yeah.
Kelly
That's a nice one.
knows stuff, and then it's like if there's no kind of traveling in time happening, but if there was like a continuum, it's like the more it's just this, the less of understanding is happening, and it's like nothing makes sense.
No, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Nothing has to make sense. Nothing. It's so amazing. It's just, it's devoid of any meaning, or it's just, it doesn't need anything. It doesn't need any kind of meaning. And any sense of understanding it is an abstraction. That's what it is, really. It's you've abstracted, because it requires there to be, to understand it requires there to be this thing called life and this other thing called you, who's separate from it, to abstract a meaning from it, and which the person feels is terribly important and significant. You know, it's amazing. It's complete living in the unknown, and then that's the adventure. Then the adventure really kicks off.
I just wanted to say hi and thanks for having
lovely to speak to you. It's nice having chatted to you in a while. Yeah,
because it's a good time for us in Australia.
Yeah, I like it. I like going down under.
Yeah,
you know, I'm glad to get them up and running again. I think of this as my Australian meeting, even though I'm sure so probably only a few Aussies on it, but that's the way I think of it.
My other friends know.
Yeah. So we'll see now. It's just busy over the summer, and kids are back now and stuff, so I have maybe a little window there, so it'll be good to do them.
Thank you. Nice to speak to you.
Thanks, Kelly. Hi, Victoria.
I just want to ask, what kind of drug was it?
Caffeine. She's a caffeine addict. Only freshly roasted. Only the best for her, Kelly. Has to be roasted within a week, or she won't drink it. I have a comment here. Hey, Kenneth, what do you mean by if there is sadness or confusion, then this is what's longed for? I'm trying to understand usage of word longing in this context. So what's being shared here and what's being suggested is there's only nothing being everything, which is what is appearing. There's only energy. And the person, when they feel like an individual person, when there's a lived feeling of being a person, there's a continual pulling in of comfort and pushing away of discomfort, and there's a real sense that if I am uncomfortable or in pain, then that's not it, and then this other thing is it. There's a continual kind of striving for one thing over another, and the amazing realization is that everything is it. If it's pain, then that's already it, and then that's the freedom. Then I might be missing the point a bit that as I'm talking. Longing, the word longing also was I think I can't even remember what was said at the beginning now, to be honest. It was about a sense that when there's this a lived feeling of being separate, and that there's life and me with my life, then there's a longing inherent in that. There's a searching and a longing for something. We would say it's for something. And that's what you see in the world, is people trying to get somewhere, trying to get something to fill this sense. And they can't understand it, they can't know what it is, they never will know what it is, but it's a feeling that if they get something, that there's some sort of something missing, and that if they find this thing, then that will address that sense that there's something missing. That's what's being shared. That actually that's not about you getting something to fill this void of something missing. It's about an apparent loss of a sense of being you, a sense of being an individual, that there actually is no individual. And this is not something that happens to anybody, because it's not a happening, because there already is no individual. There already is just boundless unconditional love, or wholeness, or whatever word you want to use, nothing being everything. Energy is a good one. So nothing happens. It's not, I'm not suggesting something's going to happen here. It's a non-happening, but it is being seen, and it can be seen by nobody. Boom, there's only what's appearing to happen, and then that's the end. That's, you know, anyway. Can I talk a little bit about worry and fear? It arises here strongly in connection with a sudden and serious health issue of my mom, despite a seeming shift in perception in the last months. Yeah, that's exactly, anything can arise, totally. That's exactly it. You've answered your own question. Anything can arise. So if worry is appearing to arise for your mum, then that's what's appearing to happen. There's only what's appearing to happen. It's that simple. There's just what's appearing to happen. So if there's a sense of fear, then it is already the sense of fear, then that's what's appearing to happen. Is there anything other than what's appearing to happen? No, because what's appearing to happen is everything being nothing. There is no boundary on anything. This is energy, and energy is nothing being everything, which is infinite and eternal, as opposed to the sense that you are, when you are a person, that this is me in a room which is in a part of a country, and that's another person over there, and that subject-object reality of relating to others. Then there's something other all the time. That subject-object reality that people appear to live in is an appearance. It's a sense that I'm a subject, I'm the center, and everything I see is an object. Everything, people, grass, trees, cars. And there's that sense of relating to something other, and that can just collapse, and it's therefore seen by nobody that there is nobody, there never was anybody, there are no other people, there's just energy, there's just what's appearing to happen. It's about as clear as I can put it. This is not expressible or describable, but by anybody. Nobody's ever been able to describe simply liberation, what it appears to be. It can only be kind of pointed towards, and really it's all about an energy. There is a resonance when it's shared like this, and when you're not seen as a person, a separate person. When therapists talk about radical acceptance in a situation of crisis, would you say there is no one to accept or not accept? There is just what appears to be happening, but fear and worry are very uncomfortable for the system, so attempts to alleviate that seem to arise. But again, what about radical acceptance? So yeah, radical acceptance is just another doing. Putting radical is a nice way of juicing something up, isn't it? Acceptance, and then you have, this is radical acceptance. This is not your garden variety acceptance, people. This is radical acceptance. This is acceptance on steroids. You're not just going to accept it, you're going to radically accept it with your whole being. It's lovely stuff, you know. It's lovely. It's endearing, really. I know I'm very well aware I sound very patronizing when I say that, but it's all like, who's going to accept? Who's going to accept? Who is it that's going to accept? There is already nobody. There's no individual. So who is it that's going to accept or not accept? You know, it's a logical. I can see the logic in the idea of it. You know, it's a nice idea. Just accept everything because it is what it is, and stop struggling against everything. And fine. And if you feel that works for you, or someone feels that works for them, brilliant. That's great. You know. But clearly, there's nobody been asked. There's nobody been asked anything here, because there's nobody here. There's already just wholeness. There is no individual.
Kenneth, in the same way about the idea of radical acceptance, and there's no one there to accept anything, but how do you feel about self-inquiry as a method of deconstruction?
There's no method of deconstruction. If there was a method, if there was any kind of method, that would mean that the person would be actually a real individual, so who can then go about deconstructing themselves. So any kind of a method or process is simply going to feed the sense that there's a person. That's why they're so attractive. That's why they're so popular. If you think about it, even logically, that's why they're so popular. Because they're not, you know, this is very radical. This is radical. This is radical, man. This is not just ordinary. This is radical.
That's right.
But this is like that. There is no body. There is no individual. Like, that's very threatening. So, you know, in general, what falls under non-duality then, which is simply the suggestion that there's only this, there's no individual, is most of it is total nonsense, because what it does is it takes what that suggestion, and then it prescribes to someone how they can not be there. So then it gives them methodology to find a path to, like, how is there a path to here? How could there be a path to here?
It's kind of like almost using the delusion to, it's kind of like using the delusion to sort of undo the delusion.
Yeah, how can an illusion dispel an illusion? Because if an illusion is trying to work on dispelling itself, it's just going to feed itself, isn't it? When you think about it.
Yeah, it seems quite absurd that somebody can change themselves, because there's nobody here to change, me.
That's all a story then. You know, someone changing themselves is just, and that's what the person is doing, is constantly working on themselves. And that's fine. You know, that, like, working on themselves to be kinder, working on themselves to be smarter, to be more skilled in certain things, to be more whatever, you know what I mean? The list is different for everyone, but and that's fine. I always think of it as generally there's two lists. You know, one is I have to be more of this. This is the more of list, and then I have the less of list. And when I get this one down and get this one up, the first one up and the first one down, boom, then I'll be there. And it's always working on ourselves. Now, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not suggesting for a second any of that is wrong. There's nothing right or wrong with any of this. Like, you know, someone goes and says, well, I'll get fit, and that's what's appearing to happen, or whatever it is. But the incredible thing is, this is the amazing thing, that what's actually looked for has nothing whatsoever to do with you. It's nothing to do with how you are or appear to be, or how neurotic you are, or how you're not enough this and you're too much that. Completely irrelevant. Whereas the person feels it's everything to do with me. Everything. What's been looked for is absolutely everything to do with me, because the person's reality is pouring through this filter, apparently this filter called me. Everything is coming through this filter called me. So there's sound now, and the person thinks I'm hearing. There's a sensation in the body of sitting in a seated position on the seat, and the person would feel I'm sitting on the seat. There's a thought, and it's my thought. There's an emotion, maybe, and it's my emotion, and so on, so on, so on. So the person thinks everything is to do with them. So when it comes to this suggestion, it's immediately applied to me, and how can I get what Kenneth is saying, or what others are saying? How can I get there? And there's no there, and there's no you to get there. It's very simple what's being shared. It's very, very simple. It's too simple. That's actually the problem for the person.
So if somebody can't change themselves,
they can certainly appear to change themselves. Do you know, that can appear in the story. You know, I can lose 20 stone and change my job and be kinder and whatever it is. Like, that's fine. But it's all what's being shared here is it's all a story. It's all a play of light.
Yeah. Then somebody can be changed by somebody else, right? Like if you said something very...
Yeah, that's a story as well. Of course, that's also a story. There is nobody else. There is no you who can change yourself and someone else who can change you. It's all a story. It's all just a play of light.
Yeah.
There's literally only whatever is appearing to happen, which is nothing being everything, which is beyond understanding or knowing completely, because it's the person who lives in a closed loop of their own knowing. It's totally ungraspable and totally inescapable.
What happened to your, if I just say, neuroticism as a character after you? Did you remain neurotic?
No, I got all my fucked upness just totally fell away, and everyone fell in love with me. Everyone I met. It was quite a problem, actually. I'd go to buy a litre of milk, and you know, everyone would be, I just love you so. You know, it's like, I just want the fucking milk, please, people, just leave me alone. It becomes a bit of an issue like that, you know. But you know, you get used to it. It's just like you could say that neurotic. There's a huge neurosis in feeling like a person, in that agitation, right? And it largely falls away. But there's the little kind of nuances of the apparent the character of the person and so on. So it's not exactly like you think that all of this just collapses. The energetic sense of being a person is imbued with a kind of neurosis, all right, and that mostly kind of falls away. But it's still the same. It's just the same. It's not like trying to imagine how it's different is not gonna, you know, it's just, if you're an asshole before this, you're going to be an asshole after it. And there's no after or before. But you know what I mean? If there's let's say a grumpy character, right? Not a friendly character, a grumpy character, and then there's the falling away, there's still going to be a grumpy character, like. You know, it's not like people think it is. There's a thunder right on cue. In the rain. So yeah, it's not. It's nothing to do with you and the way you appear to be. But when that sense of being a person is no longer, the character is untethered or free, because the character is kind of dampened a bit by not even a bit, largely by the sense of being a separate individual. Again, by the sense that I'm too much this and not enough this. It's kind of dampened down. There's this constant kind of criticism of, oh, you shouldn't have said that, and that didn't go down well now when I said that, and I'll be more careful next time, and I wonder what they think, and you know, there's this, that's the neurotic tick 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 tick. And then there's just the character is the character, which that's unique in the DNA or whatever. That's good old Irish rain for you there now. That's what it sounds like. Autumnal Irish rain. Trying to alleviate suffering is just what appears to be happening. Yeah. So, I mean, helping, I don't know whether that's for yourself or what feels like another person, but that's what appears to be happening. Yeah. Hi, Laura.
Hi. Can you please talk a bit more about the ordinariness? What do you mean by this? Like it's daily life, or?
Yeah. So it's because there's already only nothing being everything. There's already just liberation. There's already just energy, and it's the sense of being a person is an artificial overlay on what appears to be. Then what's yearned for and searched for is already the case and is already in everything. So in that way it's completely ordinary and obvious. It's the sound of rain, you know, it's sitting on a seat, it's drinking a cup of tea, it's a thought, it's whereas in contrast to that, there's a sense from being a person that there's a very kind of lived sense of special, not special, because the person is dualism, the person is that play of opposites, and they'd feel that oh, this is just a Wednesday morning and it's fucking pissing rain, and you know this isn't, the weekend was great because I did this and I did that, and maybe I'll book a holiday and that'll be good, so then there'll be something better than just what appears to be happening, because this isn't, so it's grand, like, but it's just quite ordinary. So it's impossible for the apparent individual to see what's being suggested here, and that's why the apparent individual, the person, is not being spoken to at all. That's quite obvious in these talks, that the person's not being fed or addressed, because all that's seen is unconditional love, or nothing being everything, which is boundless. There's an energy, and there's a confronting energy then too. When I talk like that, it's as if there's different energies. There isn't, but it can be quite confronting to that feels like a person. But yeah, that's I don't know, does that kind of make sense? The ordinary kind of, it is everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and me or person or whatever, is this movement of constant trying to escape it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a continual kind of rejection of what is, in favor of what might be, you could put it that way, in a continual kind of, if you can imagine the person is on this linear kind of movement, and things are sequentially happening to them in time, and they're moving forward into the future. That's the way it feels for the person. That's all a story, but they feel that there's a movement to something better, and invariably it's around the next corner. It's not just it's not just sitting on a seat. Like, I can't just be sitting on a seat. Like, it can't just be sounds and sitting on a seat. That's ludicrous. It has to be some kind of thing where I get something or whatever. So that's but the person, you know, isn't relevant here at all, and the person's not being spoken to and not being asked to see anything or do anything or anything, because there is no person actually. Yeah. So
Yes.
another way of putting it would be, you know, this is about the person kind of appears to live in the real, in the in that subject object dynamic of something is an object to my subject, everything is real to me, so they're living in the real, and actually what's yearned for is nothing, but there's a living in something, only in something, because I'm something and I can see something else. So the person is not being asked to see nothing, because the person can't see nothing, because the person feeling like a subject can only see something else, and will only see something else.
So the person is just the narrative as well.
Yeah, the person's just a story, that's all. So when that sense of being a person is no longer, boom, nothing. There's nothing. Everything is nothing, and nothing is everything. It's not two separate things like nothing and everything. This is everything being nothing and nothing being everything. In that same way that the person feels, there's a lived sense of they have a life, and that this is life, and then there's another thing called death. Separate thing. That's kind of, let's avoid that one. There's not another thing called death. You know, there is no death.
But the person is not, it's not that, you see, I'm listening to you, and it's as if something is hearing this. It's just hearing it, and there is just no happening. It's just listening and resonating, and there is something even like an energetic understanding. But there is something. I'm not aware of being a person. It's like not that I'm consciously saying I'm a person. I cannot say that. I just cannot admit it. It's like I'm not aware of it. It's like, when you describe how this energy movement is, it's like, yeah, makes sense, but I cannot say, yeah, that's how I am, or how I feel, or how I experience life.
That's what's happening there then. That's what's happening there, that there doesn't really feel, maybe there doesn't really feel like there is a sense of being a person then.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, that's what's appearing to happen then.
Yes, and
so that's already it then. That's, of course, that's already it.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh, Liz.
Golly gosh.
Like... I'm so sorry. Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, there you go now.
Yes. Yes, there was this narrative coming from apparently outside, and always trying to, what do you mean? What do you mean? What is it? But there was something that never, yes, it's like it is like it is. That's true.
It is just, it's very ordinary and simple. There's just what's appeared to happen.
Yes,
and you're never going to know that. You're never going to know that. It's totally unknowable. Like, they're literally, people often feel when they kind of appear to participate in, say, a meeting like this or whatever, they kind of feel that, some people have gotten this, like he's got it, she's got it, Kenneth seems to have gotten it, so I want it. And it's not like that at all.
Energy.
There's nothing to get.
That's also only energy.
That's just a sense.
Energetic movement.
That's a sense that may arise for an apparent person. That someone else has got something that I haven't got, but it's not like that at all. It's just that there's no longer a sense of being a person, maybe, and there's just what's appearing to happen.
Yes, and there is this, I can say that I just love, let's say, the ordinariness of whatever is happening.
Yeah. Like we said earlier.
I love it. I love this thing, for example, or that cup or whatever is going on. It's like, yes, that's it, and it's enough. Yeah.
Oh, it's enough. Yeah.
It's
enough.
It's very
Everything
simple.
is enough.
And it's very simple. It's so simple. It's not sophisticated at all.
No, you could not describe how simple it is. You could never describe how ordinary and simple it is.
Yes. And very natural in a way.
Oh, totally.
Very
completely
natural.
and utterly, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like the in-loveness we spoke about earlier. There's just an in-loveness for nobody. It's not that I'm in love with what's happening. It's just there's an in-loveness with what appears to be happening. And some of the times it's very painful. And it's very, there's discomfort. But that's the beautiful thing, is that anything can appear to happen. That's the total liberation, instead of this sense of continually rejecting one thing. Oh, you know, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to feel pain. That's not it. And it is, and constantly trying to feel, pull in pleasure and comfort.
Yes. Yes. And it's also a kind of letting go of other people in a way.
Well, there are no other people. Yeah, you don't have to let go of anything because you're not there to let go. But there's obviously no other people, because there's only other people when you feel like a person. Because you feel like a person, then that's that person. That's my father. That's my mother. That's my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my son, my daughter. My. It's a total dream. And then amazingly, fathering happens, and mothering happens. Yeah. And it's just free to be mothering and fathering, and friendships appear to happen. But the person feels when they're there that that's my friend. He's my friend. And I think we all, people can relate to a sense of having a friend, that there's this neurotic energy of you're my friend, so therefore you behave in this way, and this is what we got to do now. These are the ones that kind of drift away after a while as people get older. Go, man, you're too fucking intense. Leave me alone. You know, there's that sense of kind of control over it. But that's generally just symptomatic of feeling like a person who feels like you have a friendship, that you are this, that you are that, you have a child, you don't have a child, anything. Nobody has anything, actually. There's just what's appearing to happen, which is nothing being everything, which is unconditional love. And that's the freedom that's been sung of in this right now by nobody.
Yeah.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you so much. And I love the flavor of your voice. It has somehow a very calming radiance in a way.
Yeah, it is what it is. It just is what it is. It's a stunning communication, and Kenneth is as stunned by it as anything. Like, I mean, it's nothing to do with me, and that's the amazing, when it's a clear, uncompromising message. It's whoa. It's just incredible.
It is.
It's incredible, yeah. As opposed to a communication which speaks to you and tells you what you can do to get somewhere, which is what we're bombarded with, really. That's all we.
Yes.
It's pretty much all we hear all day, from when you get up in the morning to when you're spoken to. And this is you are seen as unconditional love. You are seen as nothing being everything.
Jasmine just wrote Kenneth is the best.
Jasmine. Oh, go away. Get out of here.
Kenneth, are you still stunned?
There's a total stun. There's a total, complete, total amazement with it. As much as when it was, completely. Because if you think about it, everything is new. Everything is new. It's not, no, the kind of wowness kind of does settle down, you know. And I know there's some people speaking recently that tell a lovely story about when it was first seen, and they're literally walking around with their mouths open, and they were said, thank God for masks, because I would have looked like I had a disability. Everything was just, and that does settle down a bit, you know. But it's also different a lot, but it's also, it just appears to be. It can be just very gentle. It doesn't have to be boom. It can be just very ordinary and gentle, and it is the way it appears to be. So there you go, guys. What happens when there is suffering or a situation or a crisis and a wish to alleviate that, but not really believing in psychotherapy anymore? Well, then that's just what appears to happen. There's only what appears to happen. So if there was a going to a sitting down with someone and talking about something, then that's what would appear to happen. It's not that there's anything right or wrong with anything. That would just be what would appear to be happening. If there's some sort of crisis or an apparent crisis, people hear this and they think that, oh, I better not go for any help because that would mean that I'm a me who's only feeding my sense of me. That's not what's being said here at all. There's just what's appearing to happen. That's all. The psychotherapy thing really is, it's not right or wrong. It's just an appearance. It's just what happens. But very much like the spiritual kind of path, there's a sense in it that if I do this and work on A, B, C, and D, then I'll get to some place where I'm a more rounded individual who has dealt with their trauma. Trauma is the big one now, and I've become more resilient, and I've integrated all of these things, and then I'll be there. It's fine if that's what's happening. Hi, Larry.
Okay. Say there's almost non-stop depression or anxiety or both, or combination of.
Yeah.
The me that's having it is also what appears to be happening.
That's what's appearing to happen then, yeah.
Yeah, that's what's appearing to happen, including the feeling that it's my depression, my anxiety.
Yeah, that's what's appearing to happen, yeah.
It's inclusive.
But of course, there's only what's appearing to happen. There's just only what's appearing to happen. But what's being suggested here is that, say, let's take anxiety, right? So there's anxiety. The sense that anxiety is an energy. It's just an energy, right? And there's a sense then that that's my anxiety. Or let's just make it clearer, maybe nervousness. There's a nervousness around certain situations. So the nervousness then is I am nervous because I'm a person. I'm a real person and I'm nervous, and I shouldn't be nervous. So therefore this and what's being shared is that there's only energy, there's only what's appearing to happen, and that sense that you are nervous is illusory. There is only what's appearing to happen. There is no you. There never has been. And that sense of nervousness is what's appearing to happen. It's energy.
But also the identification with that is what's appearing to happen as well. It's
what's appearing to happen, yeah. That's what appears to happen. It's not wrong or right. So mostly people identify with any kind of emotion. I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm feeling fully alive, me. That's generally what we see. That is the predominant kind of perception, and that's also just energy. It's just because there is nothing but energy, which is nothing being everything. Excuse me. But when it's not like a real thing that something can happen with, that it falls away. It's when that sense of not being a person is there, or it falls away, or when the sense of being a person falls away, it's seen that it never really was. It was just a story.
Yeah. It just seems like there's something that can be done about that.
Oh yeah, and it does seem like in the story it does seem like something. And again, there would be nothing. What would be wrong with if someone is feeling like shit, or they're feeling all sorts of neurotic things, or they're feeling depressed, or they're feeling this, and they feel they can do something about it, and they do something about it, and they feel better. Then great, fantastic. What's wrong? What would be wrong with that? There's nobody suggesting here for a second there's anything right or wrong with anything. There's just a suggestion, a very clear, uncompromising, simple suggestion that there's actually only what's appearing to happen, and that can resonate. You know,
like for instance,
like a problem's appear to get solved. Like someone feels overweight and unfit, and they feel like crap, so they say, well, I'm going to tidy up the diet, do some intermittent fasting and do some exercise, and then a week later they feel great. That's what's appearing to happen. There's nobody in there in the beginning feeling crap or feeling fit and healthy. That's what's being suggested here.
As an example, you know, you can read a book or watch a movie, and then the depression's not there when you're watching that movie, or
well, the apparent individual continually during what appears as the day is not there, and then is back again. It's not a constant. It kind of comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes. And what it is, I would suggest, is that sense, it can be that sense of not being there. There's just no, there's no openness to that when that sense of a person comes back, it's not really noticed. And then when it is, it's boom, you would call that an awakening or a glimpse or something. It's just, there's an openness to what was that, and the person then thinks, well, something happened there now to me. And what's been shared here is, no, nothing happened to you. It was actually a loss of that contracted sense of being separate, and although you feel like you're back, it's still not, it's still only artificial. Thanks, Larry.
Thanks.
I'll take one off Michael and then we'll probably finish up.
Morning, Kenneth.
Hi, Michael.
Yeah, so I just really, I just love what you said there about nervousness happening, energy, because I've got to leave in like 40 minutes to go on a trip, and I haven't started packing yet. And I'm listening to this, and I'm getting quite nervous because I'm like, oh, so can you? I'm quite intrigued. So I'm sitting on the sofa listening to you. I haven't packed, and I'm leaving in 40 minutes, and I'm getting nervous.
Yeah, well, what's been suggested is that their nervousness is what's appearing to happen.
Right.
That's all there is. There's only energy. There's no you who's nervous. There's no you who's sitting on a couch, and there's no you who's going on a trip, and there is no trip. It's all a story. Everything that appears to us as real is a story. And there's no other place. This is boundless energy. Stunning. It's inescapable what's been it's inescapable. So I mean, missing getting the plane is it, and missing the plane is it. It's inescapable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you say that? I guess something like I just love hearing this. It's so good. So I think I'm sitting on the couch getting nervous because I'm not packed, and there's no trip. There's no me.
Yeah, there's no you that's laughing now. That's sitting on the couch. They're just laughing. There's this laughter. There's just speaking. There's sound. There's that sense of being a you that's in there, and the body is artificial.
And there's a concept which is holding all these ideas together in some sort of net.
It's not really kind of describable, but like there's a conceptual element to it, but I always kind of describe it like a contracted energetic sense of being separate, that the mind has a huge role in. The brain has a kind of a huge function in, but it's a very cellular embodied thing. As feeling separate, you feel in the body. It's not a concept or just an idea in the mind. And of course there is no brain body divide anyway. So it's more I think it's better described as just a contracted energetic sense of feeling separate that feels absolutely real. Like it really feels like there's a me in here and there's a world out there. And it feels that I'm speaking to other people and that things are happening to me. And all the time that feels like it's happening, it feels absolutely real. It feels completely real. And what's been shared here is a suggestion that that's actually artificial and that you never have been. I better finish now. I'm afraid Michael's going to miss his trip. And then he'll blame me. I'm joking. Thanks so much, Michael. I put a link there in the chat if anyone wishes to contribute. It's probably the first one as well. I put it up the very top, and it's just gone in there as the bottom one. So thanks so much. Really lovely to speak to everyone. And sorry about the technical glitch, but it sounds like you had a lot of fun without me. Speak to you soon. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.